cruise. So for one bad cruise out of 8 or 10, I am giving Disney Cruise Line that second chance for this next cruise coming up in August. Sickness can happen anywhere, and unfortunately, there were some people that weren't properly training, and there was issues on it, but I chalk it up that it was some unexperienced crew members, and there were certain problems, but Disney Cruise Line has quote unquote reassured me, and I will continue to cruise as long as I feel that it is safe to cruise. And again, with everything that's going on with coronavirus, time will tell if we go on this August cruise. There's a lot of time between now and then, but being that I experienced a sickness my very last cruise, I'm not sure if I want to duplicate that right now, because it would be back to back, and that could potentially put a sour, spot on it. So we will see. Other than that, though, I will say in the past 8 cruises, they have all been phenomenal. The attention to detail, the fact that if there is any issue, it could be something as simple as the toilet bowl not working. I mean, they're there in 2 seconds. I mean, you need extra towels, you need this. So-and-so forgot, their cuppy or whatever in the room. The kid is crying. I mean, Disney bends over backwards to a fault normally with these things. I mean, sometimes I feel they go too far over. But amazing experiences from ports to experiences to shows to dinners to food to cleanliness. I've heard stories on the other ships of other cruise lines, and that's probably one of the main reasons why I just can't give up Disney. I am so afraid to try something else. I know it's X amount cheaper, but I look at it as it's X amount that now I just took away from my next trip. And I know that Disney is this much, and for me to afford that would push me further if I went on a Royal Caribbean or a Carnival, and I'm just not willing to take that chance right now.
I'd have to agree with you. Again, like I said, I went on a cruise not so long ago. It was my first ever. So I didn't know what to expect. There were, of course, people who have been on the cruise before, this particular cruise before. And in the end, of course, there were pros and cons that everybody was saying, because now it was a different cruise line and how they worked things out. It was mainly for the people who put it on. But for me, working in a travel tourism customer service industry, I kind of have a grasp on what customer service is. So for 7 days, I was called by name. They knew what I drank. They knew what I wanted to eat. They knew if I was on the buffet line. They knew, oh, well, this needs to come out. Oh, hey, I got this for you. Things like that. It was very, very upscale and very, very customer service was top notch. And I think much like you, that is afraid to deviate from that specific cruise line because of your positive experiences. I'm afraid to deviate to another cruise line because of my positive experience. But it's not to say I won't try it. But don't forget, I have a high standard now because I've been on one and they've treated me with so much respect. Shout out to Royal Caribbean, which I do have to send a guest experience letter to. They did send me a survey, but I am going to send a guest experience letter to as well, promoting their top-notch customer service. So switching gears and getting back our sea legs and going on land, we're going to talk the happiest place on earth, Disney World. So you, of course, not only do you cruise, you go to Disney World every year. So let's talk about your most recent Disney World trip. Pros and cons, how long you stayed there, where you stayed at. Again, out of the time that you've been there, the best day that you had. And go.
Okay, so my problem with Disney World is that I have something called add-on-itis. So we start every trip with 7 days, and we go for like 2 weeks because we don't go home. See, this is the problem when you drive. I have DVC, which is for most people know is Disney Vacation Club, which is their timeshare. So that allocates me basically, I have 2 timeshares with them. One is at Hilton Head in South Carolina, and the other is in the Polynesian at Walt Disney World. So that, depending on when I go and the point charts and all that kind of stuff, I can get anywhere between 5 to 10 nights, depending. And then I'll bank and borrow and kind of move points around. But then we say, well, my husband's off and he has a couple extra days, so let's add on a day here and add on a day here and add on a day here. So we started, it was supposed to be December 2nd, and I think we left the day before Thanksgiving. So we drive, so it was 24 hours straight. We always drive, unless we're matching it with Disney Cruise Line, which we just discussed, just because we like the flexibility of having the car. It also saves me about $1,000 in terms of, not having for a family of 4. So we like that. So we started at my company's, we did the Wyndham off-site for 2 days. Then we switched over to the Poly for 7 days. Then we did Saratoga Springs in there. We added, we just kept adding days, to be honest with you. It's really a blur in terms of the specifics because we just never came home. We came after we ended at the Poly, though, we went to Hilton Head for another 2. So we came back, I think it was December 9th or 10th. So that's like a 2-week trip.
Bless. I mean, you're right. When there's a difference when you drive down versus when you have a plane, because of course, and obviously when you have a plane, you have to be at the airport at a certain time. And
you're locked in.
Yeah. And to cancel would mean more money to cancel out, which means less money in your pocket to enjoy the trip. But there is pluses to that. And 2 weeks fun in the sun, traveling, and of course by car, you can stop and see other places if you want. The vacation doesn't stop when you leave your destination. When you drive, there's always something that you want to see going or coming from your destination. I have been to Disney World many moons ago. Without giving my age, I will tell you I was 13. So from what I remember, Epcot, I think Epcot's biggest thing they had there was what resembled to me something like a mimeograph from like the 1960s. So I can only imagine everything's evolved in the last 3 decades. A lot of things have come down. A lot of things have been built up in its place. So for a guy like me who hasn't been there in 3 decades, and for you who go there every year, what is the things that you're astonished about that they change every year, but it's still, the experience is still the same or a little bit different?
So I think it's hardest for people like you because your last idea of what the parks were is so far, is just so far removed. The parks change. Every 6 months, there's something new. Every 6 months, there's a new show, or it's getting changed, or there's an overlay. There's different dessert parties, and for somebody, it's hard for me. I go once a year. I have good friends that go 3 to 4 times a year. I have friends that live in Florida and go, monthly, weekly, and they can't even keep up because it's a constant evolving of the parks, especially right now because they're trying to do everything for the 50th anniversary, which is October 1st of 2021. They wanted everything nice and new and shiny and kind of redo it. But in your case, you're basically starting from scratch. I mean, you went from when there was 2 parks to now there's 4 parks plus the 2 water parks, Disney Springs, which originally was downtown Disney. I mean, this could be a 10-hour podcast. I mean, forget it. I mean, I can talk being from New York, but I can't talk that much. I think you definitely have to get back there. For the people that, you allocate at least 1 day to each park, but the major things, even with Magic Kingdom, you got to go through the classics because even the classics for you haven't even. I mean, they've changed in terms of like the Pirates of the Caribbean. Like when you went, the redhead was there. The redhead's gone. You know, I mean, that was a whole other, even something as small as that. Fantasyland has been completely transformed between Fantasyland and New Fantasyland. Going back to some of the basics is still going to be so new to you because you're walking down paths that have even just changed. Just walking down to the castle. You can't go through the castle. You have to go around the castle. Go ahead.
I was going to say, talking with you and as you're discussing everything that's changed, one thing I can remember is that you couldn't explore everything in 7 days.
You still can't.
You still can't. Right to this day, you still can't because of all the additions and all the new stuff. Let me ask you, when you talk to your friends that go multiple times a year, do they change the scenery like for different seasons? Because I know Disneyland, which is a 4-hour drive for me, every season there's a different theme or there's a different landscape. So I would imagine that Disney World follows suit in that aspect.
It does and it doesn't. It basically does only in the Epcot park. So I've only been to Disneyland once. So I've been to Disneyland and California Adventure, and that is the true meaning of a park hopper. I mean, you turn around and there it is. You turn around. That's amazing. I kind of feel like California Adventure is a mini version of the other 3 parks. So if you took like Animal Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios and condensed it, that's your California Adventure on a very, very small scale. When you go to Epcot changes. They call it festivals. Originally, it was basically food and wine and the Spring Festival. That was like the main 2 things that were drawing people in. Now you have Festival of the Arts. So basically through end of January, after the marathon weekend and everything happens, I'm dying to go. It's the only one that I have not actually experienced. My friend Rachel goes all the time. It's a sweet spot for her. She actually just went before the closures. I am so jealous. I will post I will post and tag her in this. But yeah, so she's told me about it. I'm so afraid because I don't do cold well. I can't do cold. So I can't see myself going in February and March. But basically what that is, it's like an explosion of arts. You have all these artists and different photo opportunities, and they change all different types of little kiosks and things for purchases. So it's centered around the arts. Then you fast forward and you have the Spring Festival, the Epcot Spring and Garden Festival, which happens between April and May. Now, obviously, we're in a postponing moment because the parks are closed, but normally right now is the time frame for that, where beautiful gardens. They have all the topiaries of all the different characters. There's different hunts. Every festival that they do at Epcot, there's something to keep the kids engaged. So when you think of Epcot, you can think of it as, some people say it's the boring park. I don't think it's the boring park. But sometimes the kids, if they're not interested in seeing the characters around the world and the parents don't want to quote unquote drink around the world, they need something to kind of hold on to the kids. So there's scavenger maps. So for Easter, they'll have it's an egg hunt. For the Festival of the Arts, they'll have different characters. For the Christmas season, there'll be ornaments for running, all different things. So that's supposed to be happening now. Then they fast forward. They don't do any big festivals in terms of the summer, because summer was traditionally their busier time. That is kind of changing. That's something that we're kind of noticing with the DVC points, with the Disney reservations. People have now kind of switched their time frame to go in the fall. And are taking more kids out of school. So I don't know if they're going to throw a festival into summer now. That might be an opportunity for them. They used to have dance parties and things that would happen in Hollywood Studios, but there's not major things when I tend to go in August. Then you fast forward again and you have the wine and dine, which is all the little mini kiosks with all the food and the booths and everything. And then you go into the Christmas season and they do it again. And it's the Christmas, basically it's Festival of the Holidays. So that's the one where I see a lot of changes, a lot of really immersive things that are kind of going on. There is an overlay, obviously, for Halloween and for Christmas, but the overlays are really centered just in Magic Kingdom. For Christmas, yes, there's decorations. There's a tree in every park, and there's decorations around it. But it's not like for Halloween, it's